Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing the Halloween series and I'm super excited to show you how I created a spooky witch and her bubbling cauldron. So this DI is super fun. It's a little creepy and perfect for adding some frightful flair to your yard. So we're starting off with a large piece of cardboard. You can use foam board, wood, or anything sturdy you have on hand. I had this big cardboard piece lying around, so that's what I'm using. The size, well, that's totally up to you. Now let's build the fire effect. So you're going to need some expanding foam like I'm using here, a Dollar Tree cauldron or any you have really on hand, some spray paint, matte black, red, and some purple, and some low lights. I use solar powered string lights and some skeleton props or bones. So the Dollar Tree has lots. So first I sprayed the expanding foam in random patterns all over the cardboard. So this will look like our fire base once it's painted. Keep in mind the foam expands a lot, so don't go overboard. One full can should be enough depending on your size. Make sure to cover the cardboard completely so it doesn't peek through, and try not to get any on your driveway like I did. While the foam is still wet, I added in my solar lights. You can use gloves or a tool to push them in so your hands don't get messy. These lights will give that glowing fire effect at night, and I prefer solar ones since the weather can mess with battery operated lights around Halloween. So next I added creepy details like skeleton parts. I used hands, feet, even skulls that I painted black. And you can add whatever spooky bits you like to make it look like someone's been roasted by the witch. Once I had everything in place, I added more spray foam around the bones and the lights just to secure them and make it look like they're being consumed by flames. So after that dried a little bit, I used spray paint. I used matte black spray paint to over the parts of the foam to give them a burnt charred look. And I didn't cover everything. I left some white foam texture to create a cool contrast. And then after I got the look I was going for, I sprayed a bit of red to mimic glowing embers and heat. So you can get creative here, orange, yellow, whatever gives it that fiery feel. For me, I just used the black and the red. So what I also didn't mention here is the cauldron, which I picked up at the Dollar Tree, at Dollarama because it was a little bit bigger. I wound up just pushing it into the wet spray foam so that way it would stick and you don't need to glue it on or anything or screw it in. You could screw it in if you're doing wood, but this helped it just stick really, really well to that spray foam, and I didn't need to add any glue or anything like that. And then I'm also adding the solar lights into the potion as well because they will create that glowing effect at nighttime. And because I didn't want to waste a ton of spray foam filling the cauldron, I stuffed it first with some paper and some wood, and then I sprayed the foam on top to make it look like it was bubbling over with a nasty, nasty potion. And for the potion, you can make it any color you want. I used purple, but I actually didn't have any purple spray paint on hand. I had used it for a different project. I wound up actually making my own by mixing some rubbing alcohol, a little bit of water, and acrylic paint. And I poured it all into a little spray bottle, mixed it, shook it up, and then sprayed it on. So you don't really need anything fancy. You can make your own acrylic paint. Acrylic paint, make your own spray paint. And then I also added just a touch, like just a spray of red on top of everything to make it look like it's fiery. And then the solar lights inside also made it really pop nicely at night. And remember, the spray foam expands, so it will bubble over and look like it's bubbling over. I think it looked really cool, and you can kind of see like a little time lapse of it expanding. And obviously you can make this potion green, purple, whatever color you want. Like I said, I decided purple was a neat color for me to use. And after that, I wound up just touching everything up to complete my look. And I did anchor this to the ground using some stakes that I had. And I just poked it through the spray foam and through the cardboard, and then kind of pushed it into the ground just so it doesn't fly away because it is light. If you use wood, it'll be nice and heavy and you won't have to worry about that. And then I went on ahead and created my witch that's going to be cooking up the potion. I did forget to mention, I also added a little bit of silver spray paint in here, and that just kind of added to the depth and the charred look of this fire. So I just went on and I, added little bits of whatever I felt like I needed to get it to look like it was burning. And you can play around with this all that you would like. Most of my supplies came from the dollar store, whether it was Dollar Tree or Dollarama, except for the solar lights. Those came from Amazon and the spray paint came from a hardware store. Now, for the witch, her body came from the dollar store, but her top was from a yard sale find. You could get a witch's mask and a hat and just do everything from the Dollar Tree. But I had this cool little witch that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. Sorry, at a yard sale. And then I picked up the tomato cage at the Dollar Tree. I added it to a pot. Then I wrapped her up in a Dollar Tree black tablecloth. And I attached everything with zip ties. You can see that I love using zip ties on everything because they just attach everything really well. And I shoved the tomato cage into the pot just to help me create the witch. And then I didn't wind up using the pot actually for the witch. I wound up anchoring her to the ground as well with some U-shaped anchors. The witch's head does have a battery in it, so I did have to protect the battery from the elements. And when you walk past the witch, the motion, she detects motion and then she screams. So for her head and arms, I used that witch prop, which I found at the yard sale. And then it's one of those, again, animated ones, which when you walk by it, it laughs and it's super spooky. And I attached her head and arms to the top of the tomato cage. Then I wrapped everything with that tablecloth. And then to give it more of a witchy look, I also added a drop cloth over top of the whole thing to mimic kind of like a tatered dress. So this helps hide the plastic tablecloth look and it made it feel more realistic, I think. And I staked her right behind the cauldron, so it looks like she's cooking something wicked and she's been cooking up people. It really, really made all of the kiddos in the neighborhood spooked and they just absolutely loved it. And so here is how it all turned out. So during the day and at night, I think it looks super cool. During the day, it looks like the fire is real. And then at night, it looks even better because the lights flicker through the foam like a real fire and the cauldron glows and the witch is cackling and the whole thing just brings spooky vibes. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell so that way you can see when I post new videos. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.